What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. Monday evening, August 26th. Happy redraft home league season. We're doing a special one tonight. I'm going to hop into a screen share right away. The draft has started. We're doing Football Guys Bowl. It's the first year of the Football Guys Bowl, and it's a fun contest. I'm picking from the 110 spot in a 12-team league. If you guys are unfamiliar with Football Guys, they're running a contest this year calling it the Football Guys Bowl, kind of similar to like a Scott Fish Bowl type of deal. And the rosters are 1 QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flex, 0 kickers, 1 defense, and 10 reserves. So it's really deep. There will be waivers. It's a really fun, deep league, and I'm excited to take a crack at it. And I think so if you win your league, you're going to be put into a playoff pool that will kind of break down like that. So it's kind of like a last man standing. I do think 6 passing touchdowns pushes me into drafting a quarterback a little bit earlier. We can see here Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, congrats on the new contract. Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase probably due up next for the contest or for the contract. And Bijan Robinson. Good evening to JSC. How did you get into this? I'm a member. Like, you got to have the Football Guys membership. There's a wait list here, but it's for Football Guys subscribers. It sounds like, where is it? The main prize is this year. You're going to be able to join the staff league next year, and you get a couple other perks. I think you get a life subscription here. A lot of cool stuff on this. So I love Football Guys. It's one of my favorite websites, and always one of my favorite things to use as a tool, before the season and during the season as well. So Football Guys Bowl, it's the first year they're doing it, I believe. And I just want to see, what are the prizes? Is there any prizes listed here? It just says compete for glory and priceless prizes. So there are a bunch of other prizes involved here, but we're going to give it our best. Thoughts on Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen for real life and fantasy this year? I mean, Mahomes is the better quarterback for real life. Josh Allen a little bit more reckless, but for fantasy, he still offers that double-digit touchdown rushing upside. So to me, I think it's pretty clear Mahomes the better real life QB. He's the guy that I want in a 2-minute drill down 3 to go get me a field goal or a touchdown. But I think Mahomes versus Allen in fantasy, there's a reason Allen goes as the first pick for quarterbacks off the board. And I think in a format like this, I've updated my settings here. I think all of my leagues I play in are 4-point passing touchdown. In a 6-point passing touchdown, not much changes, but it pushes up guys like Mahomes, Dak, I think Burrow, Love, Stroud, definitely. Those are kind of the guys that I'm looking for. It pushes up guys that don't run the ball as much. Goff, I think Lawrence is a good one. I'm very much interested in Patrick Mahomes in this format, and we'll see what we get here. We're on deck. We got A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson. Those are probably the 2 guys that I'm looking at with one of these picks. So we'll probably run those guys in pretty easily here and enjoy a fun wide receiver start. And we'll see what we can get round 2. I think it would be nice. And we get our choice of A.J. Brown or Garrett Wilson. If I'm just looking strictly at receiver, and it is full PPR, I'm very excited about Garrett Wilson and the Jets this year. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know. I think it's hard to have 2 guys pay off in that first round for the ADP. I'm a little nervous about Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. I think one of them will be a smash. One of them might disappoint. Whereas I think A.J. Brown, man, just locking in my top 5 wide receiver here. I'm going to roll with A.J. Brown, and we'll get the first receiver on the board for our team. Starting T.J. Hockenson was healthy again over Trey McBride? No, not even close. Even when T.J. Hawkinson's healthy, usually it's a 2 to 3 week ramp up before that player is even close to being fantasy relevant. And keep in mind, Hawkinson's not practicing at all right now. He's not even really in game shape yet. I personally don't want Hawkinson on my team at all. I think it's just going to be kind of a long, miserable season for Hawkinson, and maybe next year we can talk about him. But no, if you're drafting, a top 5, top 6 tight end, you shouldn't be thinking about T.J. Hawkinson. I think you're starting McBride all year. As long as McBride's healthy and rocking and rolling, I think it's a no-brainer. You're starting Trey McBride. And with TJ Hawkinson comes back, like, you still have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, a couple other guys to compete with targets. I don't know if Hawkinson, I know he was tight end 1 last year, but a lot of different changes. No more Kirk Cousins. He's coming off a serious knee injury where I don't expect Hawkinson to be his league-winning self right away. It gave, Garrett Wilson, Jahmyr Gibbs, unfortunately there, Saquon Barkley at the turn. With this, league being able to start 5 wide receivers, I'm not afraid to go very heavy wide receiver in this. I don't think there's a running back that I care for here. Pacheco, Achane, Kieran. We might play, a little bit of chicken here at running back and see what can fall to us. But overall, I'm thinking probably wide receiver here. That's really the only position that sticks out to me. If I just go to all of them, it's got London, Puka, Olave, Cooper Kupp, Marvin Harrison, all these guys towards the top of the list. And I will say, I don't think stacking is as important in a redraft league, especially like a season-long league. But because it becomes kind of like a tournament style at the end of the playoffs here, where there is no playoffs, it's like a free-for-all. It's most points weeks 15, 16, and 17. I think that could be interesting to lean into a stack there. I kind of like the dark mode if you guys are cool with the dark mode. But Puka Nacua here feels like a pretty good hit to me at my wide receiver 2. I'm a big Drake London fan. I think that the NFC South has got some pretty weak defenses. Puka coming off that injury, I don't think I should overthink it. I probably should just take Puka Nacua as my wide receiver 2. I mean, he had one of the greatest rookie seasons of all time. We'll grab Puka Nacua and A.J. Brown off the board here for us. And just in terms of my wide receiver rankings, I got Puka up here at wide receiver 7, A.J. Brown wide receiver 8. So I got 2 top 10 wide receivers in my projections, and it's looking like one of these guys hopefully will finish top 5 and push us forward here. But we're doing well. Thoughts on DeAndre Swift versus Chargers workhorse running back? So I don't think either the Bears or the Chargers are going to have just one guy being the guy. I think I'm kind of viewing DeAndre Swift as a pass-catching running back, kind of like I think DeAndre Swift is just fancy Jaylen Warren, where he's going to get, 10 to 14 carries per game, but he's going to get, his 3-4 catches per game as well. So I like DeAndre Swift in a full PPR setting, but I'm kind of nervous about his touchdown upside. I think the Chargers back will have more touchdowns than Swift. So honestly, for where Swift's being drafted, I prefer waiting for the Chargers running backs. If that's the question, if it's DeAndre Swift at ADP or one of the Chargers backs, I'm probably going to try and get the Chargers backfield. If I'm looking around here for DeAndre Swift, where is Mr. Swift? He's up here at 62. And I think Khalil Herbert's a better running back, on first and second down between the tackles. I think he's a better running back than DeAndre Swift. And when they do get near the red zone, I do worry about Caleb Williams throwing the ball or tucking it down and running. I don't know if I see more than, 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns for Swift on the year. Whereas the Chargers running back, we know they're going to run the ball, and that's going to be their identity. Whereas I think the Bears, it's going to be Caleb Williams as the identity. So a little bit nervous that Swift gets kind of lost there, and he has some ups and downs. Whereas, we're looking for Gus Edwards here. Gus Edwards at 113. You can get him 5 rounds later, and you get a shot at Gus Edwards. But I'm kind of open to taking shots on J.K. Dobbins right now. It sounds like he was very active in training camp and well ahead of schedule, and it sounds like the beat reporters are saying he's got a lot of juice left. So I know the Achilles stuff is kind of not a good bet, but Dobbins has slowly checked all the boxes this training camp in August, and I think he's a great guy to put on your bench, especially in a league like this where it's 20-man rosters deep. I think I'll probably maybe interested in taking some shots on the Chargers. And the hard part about Swift for me is I like a lot of other guys in his area. For sure, Cooper, Higgins, Burrow, those guys are all ahead of him, but I'd give me James Conner over DeAndre Swift, a guy that's going to be a workhorse when he's healthy. I think I might prefer David Montgomery because I think the touchdowns are going to be there. McLaurin, Ingram, Rashee Rice, there's a lot of other players in that range that I like more than DeAndre Swift this season. And we got 2-minute clocks here. We got 2 teams on auto pick. Unfortunately, this team gobbled up 2 running backs. So I'm going to have to be mindful of that when I'm picking on my turn. But Yeah, and I don't think there's any other crazy league settings going on here. I'm going to go back to the Football Guys rules. So week 15, round 1, top 50% rounded up will advance to the next round. Okay, so the top 2 finishers in each division will automatically advance to the playoffs. So if I finish first or second, I make it to round 15. From there, it's the top 50% in round 15, the top 50% in round 16, and then there's going to be a huge round 3 finals. So it's an accumulative thing. Week 15, 16, and 17, you got to keep finishing the top 50%, weeks 15 and 16 to get to here. And then the entrant with the highest combined score will be crowned the winner. So maybe I should open up my best ball cheat sheet. We'll go to my best ball tab. Good evening to Justin. Yeah, I'm pretty happy, you know, and this is the Football Guys contest, and it's a fun. I personally really like these roster formats here. 2 running backs, but you start 3 receivers and you get 2 flexes. So to me, this kind of encourages going maybe wide receiver heavy, and I can find my running backs to kind of just pluck in and you know, just play it and load up on a bunch of back end running backs. So I'm kind of setting myself up here for a wide receiver heavy team. And then there's 10 bench spots. So we're going to be drafting a lot of sleepers. Only 1 defense. I might want to grab 2 in this format. That way I'm not playing waivers, you know, looking for defenses. If I have 20 people on the bench, I probably want to grab 2 defenses here. Probably want to grab 2 QBs. Getting our boy Kyler. I'm open to Kyler. If I can, JSC was asking about Trey McBride. If I can get Trey McBride on the team, I think that would be a fun little quarterback running back stack. But I think for me, this is 6-point passing touchdowns, Justin. And so I was going to think about Mahomes if he came back to me around 3, but you can tell people are pushing QBs up the board because of the 6-point passing touchdown format. So when I go to my projections, not a whole lot changes. You know, versus standard. If I go to standard here, Mahomes, the top 3 guys don't change, but a 6-point passing league does push Dak Prescott up. I mean, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, these guys are all ballers at their positions. Kyler Murray still a top 10 QB. It does make Jared Goff a little interesting. So we'll probably want to pull QB at an appropriate time here, but for now, we're going to continue to evaluate here. 2 teams got QB so far, and no tight ends off the board yet through the first 26 picks. And I'm just curious. I want to see who Sleeper is projecting for touchdowns. They got CJ Stroud up at 33. They got Joe Burrow here at 31. Honestly, Brock Purdy's not a bad consolation in a 6-point passing touchdown league. I think he was lights out last year. If I go to 2023, I mean, he threw a lot of touchdowns last year. If I look at the numbers, 31 touchdowns last year, 4,200 yards. You know, if I want to wait for QB, I'm not opposed to Brock Purdy being the guy later. Or, I mean, I think Jordan Love's also a really good play if I want to wait till like round 6 or 7 and kind of evaluate QBs then. I think, honestly, I think all the tight ends really have value this year because there's not a first or second round tight end. We've always had to draft Kelsey, Mark Andrews, you know, Gronk. We've always had to draft these guys in the first couple picks. And now that we can wait, there goes Sam Laporta. And I don't like to take the first or second tight end off the board because I think any of the top few guys could be tight end 1. So I usually like to wait for that 4th or 5th tight end off the board. That's often Trey McBride. That's often Mark Andrews. If I miss out on those top 5 guys, I mean, I don't think there's a huge drop off from Evan Ingram and Kyle Pitts. If I look at my projections here in full PPR formatting, I mean, I think I got these top 6 guys separated by 14 points, which is pretty crazy. So I think there is a lot of value in getting one of these guys here, and we will hopefully find someone to fall to us. But it's getting close to our pick. I'm not going tight end here yet. If I go to all and let me hit ADP, Jacobs, Evans, Debo, I think, you know, Debo would be a lot of fun here. I don't think I'm pulling Jacobs or anybody like that. DK Metcalf and Malik Neighbors excite me a lot. I think I'm going to continue to draft wide receivers here. I'm getting pretty excited about the Seahawks offense, and I know a lot of people are kind of writing them off, but I just think the new offensive coordinating change and just a new style of offense for the Seahawks will look really nice. They also have, a really nice 3 wide receiver set for Geno Smith. And if Geno Smith fails, they still have Sam Howell, and both those guys look great in the preseason. But they're giving me Deebo Samuel here. Yeah, they're giving me Deebo Samuel. And in the best ball drafts that I do, Deebo Samuel he goes up here with London, Puka, and Harrison. So they gave us a bone here. I'm Deebo Samuel as my wide receiver 3. And Jalen Hurts is still on the board. I know it's 6-point passing touchdowns, but we could stack a little Jalen Hurts with AJB. I mean, he threw a career high in touchdowns last year in 23, threw career high yards, pass attempts, completions, did throw some more interceptions, but he also threw the ball almost, 70 more times than he did the year before. And he's still got that intense rushing upside. So maybe there's a little bit of value here in grabbing Jalen Hurts in the 4th round. Otherwise, I totally don't mind waiting for a couple QBs and playing some matchups. I think in this, I don't know, man. I'm tempted to do it, but I can get DK Metcalf or Malik Neighbors here in the flex. I do like Josh Jacobs as like a every down running back for me. I think the Packers running back depth is pretty thin right now. They don't know if A.J. Dillon or Marshawn Lloyd are going to be healthy for week 1. So we could see a lot of Josh Jacobs early this season. But I think for me, man, like I can find quarterback points throughout the draft. I got Devonta Smith. I have Malik Neighbors here at wide receiver 16. I got DK Metcalf at wide receiver 19. Those guys excite me, I think. Got to get the push. DK's. That's what I'm saying. I think as much as I like Hurts, it seems like QBs are falling a little bit here. I mean, if I wait to evaluate QB again at the next round, I don't know about Anthony Richardson, but I could get Joe Burrow and maybe T. Higgins on a stack at that next turn. And I kind of want to get in a 6-point passing touchdown league. I kind of want to get one of those quarterbacks that are going to throw for 30-plus touchdowns. I don't know if Hurts is going to do it. But Neighbors versus DK for me, we're gonna go DK Metcalf in the flex. So we got 4 wide receivers here. We're the only team with 4 wide receivers so far here. Only 2 teams with 3 wide receiver starts. But I'm loading this up, and I think next round we'll consider some of the other positions, as I feel like we got some pretty good depth to start the draft. I did want to look at my best ball cheat though. So I identified that I probably should update this, but a while back I updated this, and the 49ers had the best schedule for weeks 15, 16, and 17. They're going to get, if I go down here, they're going to get Detroit week 17, which is a lot of fun. But they get the Rams, and then they also get the Dolphins, and then they finish up with the Detroit Lions on Sunday Night Football week 17. So Rams, Dolphins, Lions, like those all sound kind of like fast-paced, high-scoring games to me. So maybe I'm pushing myself towards Brock Purdy here. And I do like the Lions too, because they're going to get Buffalo. They're also going to get Chicago, which should be a good game. And then they get 49ers here at the end. I mean, Goff and Laporta and Gibbs are already off the board, but nobody's pulling Hurts yet. Interesting. But we're rocking an A.J. Brown, Puka, Deebo, and DK Metcalf start. We'll find some running backs. Don't you guys worry. We're gonna pound in a lot of running backs here towards the end of the draft. Malik Neighbors, C.J. Stroud off the board. The auto pick with C.J. Stroud, that's weird. I think he was ranked higher. Not sure about that. I would have liked Malik Neighbors on the team, but unfortunately no luck there. I mean, I really like the pocket of running backs. I mean, I'm open to James Conner here, but I think Najee, Pollard are guys that I like a lot. I like Javonte Williams a lot. I really like Jalen Warren still. I think Singletary's fine as a, if he's my RB2, I think that can work. I like Tajay Spears. I like Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. I like Chase Brown. I'm thinking, I mean, I could legit wait for Chuba Hubbard to be my RB2 week 1. And there's a lot of guys here. So we're probably going to rock a 0 running back build here. And maybe we evaluate quarterback, tight end, and receiver again. But we'll see what happens when it comes back around. We got a long wait yet. 4 tight ends off the board so far and only 3 QBs in a 6-point passing lead. Let's look around for some. The Kansas City stack is pretty nice, but Mahomes is already off the board. They're going to get the Browns, the Texans, and the Steelers. Those are some kind of tough games. I think at Cleveland and at Pittsburgh for the Chiefs, those are tough games. They do get Houston at home, which should be a fun game. The Texans, we already had C.J. Stroud off the board. I think Lamar Jackson's still on the board, and Jalen Hurts are still on the board. Otherwise, Dallas, man. Dallas is going to get – they get Carolina. That should be a good amount of points in that game. They get Tampa Bay, and then Dallas gets Philadelphia at the end of the season. There goes Jackson. So we got Jalen Hurts free falling here. I don't think there's a chance he comes back to me, but that would be something if he did. That would be something. With the top 4 tight ends off the board, that did leave Mark Andrews there. I really like – so typically if I don't get Bijan and I don't get London, I usually try to get Kyle Pitts. So I think he is a priority at the 5-6 turn. I'm also very open to Evan Ingram. I don't have a Jaguar yet. I think he's the Jags wide receiver 1. We could maybe backdoor a little Jake Ferguson, Dak Prescott thing. Because, again, I mentioned Dak Prescott. I mean, he was QB4 in my rankings. So for me to sit tight and maybe get a little Dak Prescott, Jake Ferguson thing could be very fruitful. Ferguson's not going off till 86, which I think that's round 7. So I'm kind of playing chicken and hoping that Ferguson comes back to me, but that could pay off pretty nicely. There goes Jalen Hurts. So 5 QBs, 4 tight ends off the board so far. I did want to kind of peruse some of the news while we're just chilling here. We got 2-minute timers, so this could be a long evening. We got Dalvin Cook visiting with the Cowboys. I don't really care about Dalvin Cook. I think last year it showed us how troublesome he was. I mean, Breece Hall looked like an all-pro running back in that same offense, and Dalvin Cook just couldn't really do anything. The Packers trading for Malik Willis, that really surprised me today. I didn't see that coming at all. That's a very unpacker-like thing to do, but they go ahead and get their guy to be the backup QB probably. This one's interesting. Tim Patrick and Samaje Perine both looking to be traded here. Broncos kind of just trimming some fat here, some veteran players that are good enough to make the roster, but probably could be used elsewhere on other people's roster. The Lions releasing DPJ. That's an interesting. I thought he would work out for the Lions when they got him. He actually played some pretty good seasons in Cleveland. So that surprises me a little bit. Aeneas Smith, Russell Gage. And we got a big news day tomorrow because that's when all the cuts are supposed to be due. And then, CeeDee Lamb. If you guys drafted already, you guys got CeeDee Lamb at 3, 4, 5 overall. Congrats. That was a huge win. And I'm not worried about Jamar Chase either. I think Jamar Chase will be signing pretty soon for a lot of money. So I have no worries on Mr. Jamar Chase there. But we're finishing up the 4th round. It looks like we're averaging about 5 minutes a round, 5-6 minutes per round. We're going to get some audio picks here. Mark Andrews. So 5 QBs, 5 tight ends off the board. I still have a top 5 QB available, and I still have 2 top 5 tight ends available. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Pitts and Ingram are in my top 5. Yeah, I don't really like Dalton Kincaid this year. I don't know what it is. I'm struggling with the amount of snaps that he's going to play in that offense. I do think he's going to lead the team in targets and receptions and be their leading fantasy receiver, if you will. But I think I struggle to see him finishing as a tight end 1 overall. I think he could finish, 4 or 5, something like that. But I think Ingram and Pitts offer that tight end 1 upside ceiling that I'm looking to swing for here. So we'll continue waiting and playing the waiting game. I'm glad that we snagged the receivers when we did, because now we're starting to get to some interesting players here. I think Tank Dell, George Pickens, these guys are fun boom bust players. Same with Amari Cooper, T. Higgins, a little bit boom bust. As far as consistent players, I think Rashee Rice, if he falls to me, that's going to be a guy that I gobble up as, if you guys are drafting this weekend, Rashee Rice in the best ball drafts that I do, he's going in the 3rd round right now. And absolutely nobody's afraid of a suspension at all. They're drafting like he's going to be a top 15 wide receiver right now. So Rashee Rice would be my pick if I get there. This guy should probably take him, though. It takes Rachaad White. Okay. Quarterbacks, you got Richardson, Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott. We can maybe pull Prescott at 6.3 if we want, and then see if Ferguson comes back. I don't love the running backs here. I think Mixon and Walker are both like solid players, but I just durability concerns, and they just kind of they just don't offer me a lot of excitement here as some of the other players on the board. I don't take Aaron Jones or DeAndre Swift much, so I'm probably passing on running back on this turn. And when it does come back to me in the 7th, 8th, I think I'm going to like that running back alley of, Harris, Pollard, Javonte, Warren. There's going to be a lot of guys that I like when we get up to pick there in that round. So receivers are still looking good. And honestly, I think the tight ends is where the juice is going to be at. So once this guy with 2 tight ends, I don't like that strategy at all. You're flexing a tight end, which just seems like a bad strategy in this format when you can start running backs and receivers in that spot. I think that's the better play. But to each their own, this guy should have it's unfortunate. He was trying to set up a Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews thing, and it just didn't materialize. Yeah, not a lot of player news today. You've got the big CD contract, a few guys releasing. Jaylen Warren expects to play week 1. I don't know if I expect him to get like a full workload or anything like that, but I'm still excited to draft Jaylen Warren. He's one of the best running backs in football, and on a really good run-heavy team that wants to run the ball and feature its running back. So we'll chill Kenneth Walker off the board. I'm getting antsy. I might go over to Drafters and make a couple slow draft picks. We got 5 slow draft picks we can make. So once I do that beep, we'll kind of go back over there. But I'm in the doldrums here of a best ball draft. Allen Purdy, I like 2 QBs. Andrews and Taysom Hill, I probably need a 3rd tight end. I really like Zach Ertz, so we'll just punch in Zach Ertz there. Pickens and Mixon off the board. We're a few picks away. Round 20, who should be my walk-off pick here? I want a receiver. I have 6 running backs, 3 tight ends, and 2 QBs, Mahomes and Prescott. We'll look for a wide receiver here. I think Josh Reynolds is the guy. They just cut Tim Patrick. They got Cortland Sutton here. Josh Reynolds is the locked-in wide receiver 2. I'm gonna go Josh Reynolds here to finish that draft. Let's see what else we got brewing here. Oh, super flex. Round 19, again, the doldrums. I'm in a lot of slow drafts right now. Ferguson and Fant at tight end. Gesicki sticks out. And I got Joe Burrow. We'll make that simple. We'll go Mike Gesicki. Kyle Pitts off the board. That's a unfortunate miss. Round 19 and 20 picks here for me. I do need a tight end. I got Laporte and Anders, but I feel pretty good about that. We'll just slap in Zach Ertz there. And then one more wide receiver for me. I think Trey Tucker's kind of fun. Brendan Rice is fun. But we'll go back here. We're on deck. We just missed out on Dak Prescott, which would have been really nice. Tight ends are Kittle and Ingram. So I could set up a really nice 49ers situation. And I mean, Kittle last year was one of his best, most consistent seasons. That's his projection. Where's his actual points here? I mean, he had some big boom weeks. McLaurin off the board. I'm going to grab Rashee Rice and just keep plugging away at wide receiver. We'll see if this guy spits back a tight end. I think Kittle or Ingram, to me, are both great consolations. And I don't think All-Star Big Joe would be autoed. Maybe he's back now. I don't think he would take another tight end. But back to over here, I'm just going to slap Josh Reynolds in there. Who cares? All right, round 12 of a super flex. We got Hurts and Goff. Our running backs are Gibbs, White, and Javonte. Receivers are Devonta, Rice, Flowers, Reed, and Palmer, and then Sam Laporta. So we got a nice little Detroit thing going on. Got a nice little Philadelphia thing going on. Looks like Amari Cooper just went off the board. Gus Edwards. We don't really have any Eagles, or I guess we'll slap Goddard in there. We'll go. They both have the same bye, though. That does bother me. Set. All right, we're gonna hang out over here. Cooper, Delano, Dunze, all off the board. Running backs are Jones, Swift, Connor. I'm passing on running back here. If I want a QB, I could pull Joe Burrow here, but I think I'm content with trying to see if Love and Purdy come back to me. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quarterbacks off the board. So there could potentially be 1, 2, 3 teams should take a quarterback when it comes back to me. So I'm going to play the Jordan Love, Brock Purdy sweepstakes and hope that they come back to me at 7, which allows me to get my tight end, whether it's George Kittle or Evan Ingram here. There's a ton of receivers that I still like. I love Jaden Reed. I like Xavier Worthy. A lot of these guys here. Chris Godwin just came off the board, but I'm grabbing my tight end 1 here. That's going to be Evan Ingram for me. I did rank him as a top 5 tight end this year. I have him at tight end 5, ahead of Kelsey, Kittle, and Kincaid. And Ingram did look good in that preseason game the other night with 2 touchdowns. Yeah, we're doing – well, I can start 5 receivers, my man. So I'm going to do it. A.J. Brown, Puka, Debo, DK, and Rashee Rice. Like, whoo, that's pretty – I think I got 5 top 20, top 24 wide receivers. And we got a top 5 tight end. We will find running backs, and I think we've calculated out. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams with a QB. Only 3 teams in between me and my next pick don't have a QB. So, in theory, Love and Purdy will be the guys that come back to me, and I think they both have some pretty nice upside this season. But I got to find a pick here in this Superflex league. Mike Williams, Judy Lockett, Gabe Davis, Adonai Mitchell, who I like a lot. I missed the boat on QB3. I have Hurts and Goff here. I needed a starting quarterback. I think I might eat a 0 here at QB. Whatever. We'll just go Dallas Goedert and see what happens. And this one, again, round 20. I'm closing up a lot of drafts here. Ferguson, Fant, Jasicki, that feels fine. Jacobs, White, Morin, Dowdle, Algier, Roshan Johnson, that sounds fine. Dak and Burrow, I think they can hang. Any more QBs here? I like Sam Howell and Drew Lock as potential super flex guys that we'll be talking about. I think Spencer Rattler is also an interesting guy right now. Burrow and Prescott. I think Jalen Hyatt's decent down here. Ray McLeod's the wide receiver 3 over there. I've been taking a lot of Josh Reynolds of late. I don't know if I want to do that here. We have a pick about to time out here. George Kittle off the board. So I'm glad we grabbed our tight end when we did. I'll tell you what. Debo, Olave, Higgins, Reed, Cooks, Davis, Mitchell, and Tolbert. I feel pretty good about that. So I guess I would have loved Jameis Winston down here. Fine, we'll take Drew Lock, who might be starting for the Giants at some point. So we're all caught up on best balls, but we'll keep it locked over here. We caught the tight end run, so we played that pretty nicely here. We got Rashee Rice at 5, and came back with Evan Ingram there. And I mean, the last of the Mohicans at tight end is probably David Njoku. I am a little concerned about what's going on in Cleveland. I worry about that offense, man. We know Deshaun Watson's not a great real-life quarterback anymore. He can still play for fantasy, but I think there's some concern in Cleveland, especially no Nick Chubb. You know, I'm a little concerned about the offensive output for Cleveland. But Evan Ingram, man, we could set up – I can set up a 2 QB thing here where I get – Purdy and Trevor Lawrence, because I think Trevor Lawrence is looking like a pretty good 6-point passing touchdown QB this year. And he's down on the list. I mean, we're talking about a guy that threw 25 and 21 touchdowns the last 2 years, but he's going to throw for 4,000 yards. And then he's got that rushing upside. He's got 9 rushing touchdowns in the last 2 years. We're talking, roughly 300 yards per season on the ground. I don't think it's crazy to see him have a career high in passing touchdowns. If he gets close to 30, I won't be surprised. So, I think waiting for QB here has some fruit to it. We could pull off a Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence QB2 situation and play some matchups when we need to. I for sure want 2 QBs on this team because it's with 20 like we're going 20 rounds. So I'm going to want a solid QB2. I'm kind of drafting this like I would a best ball team. Because waiver wires are going to be complete ass. In a 20-round league, they're going to be pretty uppy. So, but we probably need to start talking running back soon. If Najee and Pollard come back around, I'm very interested there. Very interested in Javonte. Very interested in Warren, Singletary, Tajay. Not so much Brian Robinson or Eckler. I'm a little nervous about the Commanders' running backs. But Gus Edwards could be our starter in week 1. Chase Brown I like as a sleeper. Sure, Jerome Ford could be our starter week 1. Chuba Hubbard could be our starter week 1. And I love putting Dobbins, Dowdle, Wright, Chandler, Algier, all these guys on my bench. I want to just hoard a bunch of these stashes. Kimani Vidal is interesting. Tyrone Tracy's interesting. Bucky Irving's interesting down here. I like Khalil Herbert. A lot of running backs. So I think for sure, though, we're grabbing a QB at 7-10. Because these teams don't have a QB. So we have to beat them to the QB room. Richardson's tumbling pretty good here. He had a 56 ADP. And we're now on pick 69 right now. But hey, if you guys are new to the fellowship, definitely like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow, lets YouTube know that this is a good channel or video to recommend to other people. If anyone's interested in drafting with me, we're doing a $25 fantasy fellowship buy-in league. It's drafting on Monday night, Labor Day. It's $25. If you guys are interested, let me know. I have 1 spot left. I'm typing in my email address here into the chat. You guys can send me an email here at thefellowkgb@gmail.com, and I will send you the invite. I have 1 spot open, $25 buy-in. I think right now we're voting on Superflex or a defense, or both is what the poll is. We got 4 votes for both. So it might be a defense and Superflex league combined, which is I love Superflex. I think it's the best way to play fantasy football because it just makes the strategy a lot more interesting. Like I'm waiting for a QB here. There's almost no strategy to that. But anyways, working our way to the end of the 6th round. You got a runner receivers going on here. Kirk, Worthy, and Keenan Allen. I think they're all viable wide receiver 3 flex options this season. I'm very happy, though, with our top 5 wide receivers. I think we got 5 studs, and we're ready to rock and roll. And QBs are falling. Richardson and Burrow, man. I bet all these teams here that took a quarterback earlier kind of waiting for, they kind of wish they waited for a Burrow here. But I'm open to Burrow. I'm open to Murray if they come back around to us. I don't expect that to happen, but you never know. The sixth round's an interesting round. I think Odunze, to me, feels a little bit rich for a wide receiver 3 that's not going to run a ton of snaps. I think he's probably in the 60% range for snaps week 1. Hopefully he can earn more work as the season goes on, but I think he's going to require some patience. I don't like him as a wide receiver 3 to start the year. I think Godwin as your wide receiver 5, that's going to be a good pick. Ingram we like. I think Kittle and Ferguson, like that's round 6 is kind of a tight end round for me. I kind of just reserve that for any tight end that's left usually. But Jones, I worry about the Vikings, man. I went through the Vikings schedule, and if you guys want to follow along here, like I don't see the Vikings winning a lot of games this year. And I worry about quarterback play. I worry about offensive line and defensive play. They should be able to beat New York, but then they got on a huge run here of San Fran, Houston, Green Bay, and the Jets. I'm reading this as a 1-4 start heading into the bye week, and then when they get from the bye, you're talking Detroit, so 1-5 at LA. I think we're looking at another loss, so I'm going to go 1-6 through 8. Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Chicago, like these are some more winnable games for them. Arizona, another winnable game. Atlanta, Chicago. But I worry about this really rough start of maybe being 1-6. And if they drop some of these games in here, I worry about we're looking at like a 5-12, 6-11 season. And I just don't want to take a veteran running back there. But Harris says he voted. Let me see what we got here. And Harris votes for what? He votes for no super flex, so he does not like fun. He does not like the fun. So 1 QB, 1 starting defense. And right now, I think if the league were to end like this, I would side with the both because super flex is kind of included in this. So I kind of view this as 4.5 votes to 4 votes, but we still have 3 more people to vote. Got to get 1 more person in the league. I do have an alternate ready to roll in case I can't find anybody from YouTube here. But if we do need somebody, I have somebody kind of waiting in the wings. But I wanted to open it up to the people on YouTube first. But we're moving into the 7th round. Richardson, Ridley, and Jaden Reed. I really like Jaden Reed, man. I think he's a great pick this year. He gets him here as his wide receiver 5, which feels fantastic. And yeah, dude, like Rashee Rice. So, I mean, I've been best ball drafting since February, and when the leagues opened up, he was a 2nd round pick. And right now in best ball leagues, which I like to look at it because people are paying for these teams, so I do think the ADP matters. He's going 32nd overall right now. So if you're drafting this weekend, like you have to pull him round 4 because I think people round 5 are going to start to think about it. His ADP is so suppressed in these leagues on ESPN and Sleeper and Yahoo, where it just hasn't caught up yet. Where people that are paying for big money leagues, DraftKings, Drafters, Underdog, FFPC, these guys are buying Rashee Rice right now at the early 3rd round. So if you guys are drafting this week and this weekend, be early on Rashee Rice. I mean, I grabbed him here at 5'10", which is, to me, way too late. He should be going up. I mean, we plan to run I plan to run the money league every year, Aiden. If you wanted to play it this year, you can evaluate it next year. To me, I have 5 leagues that I like to do. I don't like to do any more than that, so I totally understand if there's too many leagues going on. But I think I'm gonna probably get rid of the free league and just stick with the money league going forward because I'm okay with free leagues, but I think if I don't need a free league and a money league for the fellowship viewers. So we'll probably drop the free league and continue with the money league here. So we're drafting the free league tomorrow night. That's going to be the final free league draft of its existence. But money league next year, I want to continue doing that and make that kind of a new tradition thing. So we're missing some running backs here. Najee, Swift, Pollard off the board. Those guys I would have appreciated to fall to me. But we are getting the quarterbacks to fall here. Burrow, Murray, and Jordan Love. So it's kind of playing how we designed it. And, I mean, the way it was, I kind of had designed it to pick a quarterback here at 7. I can still get a running back or 2 here that I think in the net. Basically, we're going to transition here to a lot of running backs, which should be fun. And we'll pull receivers when we need to. As far as receivers off the board, I mean, I'm kind of glad that we hammered our guys here. We don't have to worry too much about receiver. Have you heard of Data Force Fantasy? They have some 3K buy. Oh my goodness. I have not heard of them. I know some of the biggest buy-ins I know are, best balls on some of the sites that we talk about, but FFPC's got a lot of them, and they have a lot of big contests too. But Jackson Smith and the Jigba off the board. I was going to consider taking a 6th wide receiver, but they're going to give me Joe freaking Burrow here, guys. So fine, I'll get a share of the Bengals offense. And I'm still very much open to grabbing a second QB, whether it's Purdy or Trevor Lawrence. I think those guys excite me quite a bit. Even Caleb Williams is not a bad pick as my QB too. But in terms of bye, I have to look at bye weeks now. So Trevor Lawrence has the same bye week as Burrow. Don't love that. Matthew Stafford maybe with Puka. That could be interesting. But man, oh man, we need some running backs now. We have our starting roster filled besides running backs. Yeah, so like Harris, I think the free league this year, I would view it as just kind of like a fun practice thing. I wouldn't take it too seriously. It's called the Fellowship Fun League for a reason. I kind of started that to just get people used to Superflex that watch my stuff. And I do plan on dropping that league next year. So we'll continue to build out that $25 draft, and maybe if people drop in, drop out, we'll be able to replace those people and get them in there. I don't want to do a dynasty league or anything like that. I think a redraft league is kind of where I want to stay. And just $25, that's not, it might be a lot for some, but I think $25 is an appropriate buy-in to get people interested and make sure they're paying attention and showing up to the draft, and we're not having teams kind of go ghost mode. So yeah, that is the plan, my man. But anyways, Javonte Williams off the board. That would have been my running back that I was pretty excited to draft, but no luck there. And we're just going to go on an epic running back run here now. I do want to pull receivers when I need to. I think if I look late, I still really like Romeo Dobbs. A.D. Mitchell's a rookie I like. I don't have a rookie receiver, so I want to kind of make sure I get one of those. Josh Palmer interests me. Jalen Polk interests me for the Patriots. I think Dontavian Wicks, Josh Downs, Darnell Mooney, Demario Douglas. We'll find some backup receivers for us, but I think for now we got to go on a running back romp. Zamir White and Kyler Murray. Brock Bowers, top tight end. David Njoku, top tight end. If anyone can guess what running back I'm about to pick right now. We're going Jalen Warren next. I'm not afraid of the Jalen Warren. Like, we went 0 running back here, so like we really can't be choosers here. I think we gotta continue just to we just gotta continue to take players that we like. And honestly, like, would I be taking any of these receivers here? Addison, McConkey, Marquise, Keon. I think DeAndre Hopkins can be of use. I really like Brian Thomas, who has a chance to come back to us. But I think in this economy, man, we gotta grab Jalen Warren and 0 running back, man. I think the beauty of 0 running back is it doesn't have to look pretty week 1, but it is the position that we will build throughout the waiver wire. I don't know if there's any trades allowed in this format, but we will continue to build. And if Jaylen Warren didn't have that little hamstring hiccup, like he was being picked ahead of Najee Harris. So he's had a few weeks to get himself healthy. We will slap Jaylen Warren, running back 1 for the squad. And did you guys vote? Did you guys vote in the Fellowship Money League here? I just want to double check. I think I need 2 more people to vote. I have 1 more person I have to invite here, but I'm looking for 2 more votes to get this kind of locked up. I kind of like both. Like if we're gonna do super flex, I think I'm fine with adding a defense onto there. So that's kind of the way I'm leaning. But we are moving into the 8th round. This draft is moving nice and slow. Tajay Spears off the board, another good running back that I was hoping to take. We'll see who comes back to us. We have to sweat this one. It's going to be a long wait till our next pick, as we're kind of just we're in kind of the weird territory here. We're in some high upside sleepers. I like the quarterbacks here, and honestly, I think waiting for QB played out pretty well. I think Joe Burrow, he was my QB 6. So I think we played this pretty well. And I would imagine Titanium Matt here is going to collect Jordan Love, potentially takes Christian Watson. So he's setting up Jordan Love. You watch, he's going to take Jordan Love here. Only 3 receivers on that team so far. No chance at Brian Thomas. He goes 8.7, Keon Coleman. So a lot of rookie receivers here, 3 in a row. I do want to make sure I grab a rookie receiver here. So the 2 guys that I like left, probably A.D. Mitchell, Jalen Polk. There might be another name or 2 that stick out as we get further down the draft here. But those are the 2 rookies. I still like Curtis Samuel as a sleeper for the Bills. There's A.D. Mitchell. I'm not into Leggett this year. I think Polk is potential pretty fun for the Patriots. I really like Josh Downs, and I think if he didn't have his high ankle sprain, I think I could have made the argument that he could lead the Colts in receptions this year. And I think Michael Pittman Jr. is one of the worst picks you can make. If you guys haven't drafted yet, I would not take Michael Pittman Jr. I don't think you're going to have a good time with Michael Pittman at round 3. Just seems a little rich here. We saw Adonai Mitchell lead the team in targets with Anthony Richardson the other day. Yeah, the 3. Let's take a look at it. Force Fantasy. Let's see if they got any Fantasy Force. Data Force Fantasy. Is there deep email draft master. These are all from. All right, we'll just click on this one. This one just happened. This one's going live right now. But here's some real ADP for you guys. No Rashee Rice in this one yet, but I guess he just went here at round 4. So that's what I was saying. Round 4, I think you got to pull Rashee Rice. Look at Malik Neighbors up here, round 3. Don't be afraid to take Malik Neighbors. I know he's on a bad team, bad quarterback, but Malik Neighbors is really good. I want to see if there's any. Okay, this one's nearing completion. This looks like a super flex draft. Yeah, I do think a diamond draft, that's $3K. Diamond. All right, August 22nd, we have a diamond draft here that's on. It's in the 7th round. So McCaffrey, first pick. You got a few running backs in the first round. You got Malik Neighbors here at 302. And where is the Rice man? Rashee Rice right next to him, 3-3. So those are the – if you guys haven't drafted yet, don't be afraid to draft Malik Neighbors, Rashee Rice. I think those guys are money. You can see QBs wait to the 4th round. I don't want to take a QB in the first 3 rounds. And I also think there should be some hesitation to drafting a tight end, the first tight end off the board. I think Laporta's fine in the 4th. I'm a little nervous about Kelsey, man. I'm a little nervous about him just getting up there in age and just kind of being basically like a Zach Ertz type at this point. Not a big yards after catch guy. But you do see tight ends in the 5th. And then that 6th round tight end, man, if you wait, you can get Ingram, Kittle, Pitts. I think that 6th, 7th round tight end is a pretty good advantage. And then my favorite guy to draft right now in the 7th, 8th rounds is Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think he's one of the best players you could pick in and hope for some crazy stuff here. Cooper Kupp, man. Yeah, the Cooper Kupp Puka Nacua stack. A little bit rich for me, but I think that's a fun way to play it because every week you're going to hope one of those guys is a slob and just goes nuclear, which odds are one of them does. One of them goes 9 for 115 and a touchdown, or they both hit. So kind of hedge the bet there with Puka. I don't think Puka and Kupp's ADP should be that far apart. Like we took Puka here at 2.3. Kupp came all the way here at 3.1. So they're almost a full round apart. I probably prefer Kupp over Adams and Olave, honestly, but it's close. Where do I have Mr. Kupp? I'm a little bit lower on Kupp in my projections. I have him at 21. I'll probably keep live streaming here for the next like 20 minutes, half an hour or so. We'll probably sign off at some point there. I don't know if we need to hang out for the full 20 rounds as we're just taking a bunch of no-name people that you guys probably don't need fantasy thoughts on. But yeah, it's definitely one of the best things that you could do, Aiden, before you're drafting, because again, people are paying for these drafts. It's the best, freshest live ADP. And it just lets you know, like, okay, if we know Malik Neighbors and Rashee Rice are going in the 3rd round of these $3,000 drafts, I need to, like, I'm okay pushing these guys up from their ADP and Sleeper, ESPN, Yahoo, wherever. I'm okay pushing these guys up because I don't want to miss them. I don't want somebody else to get that value. I want to reach. And for me, I mean, Neighbors went 4.6. I thought about him at 4.3 over Metcalf, but I kind of like Metcalf in this format as my wide receiver 4, and then Rashee Rice all the way at 5'10" felt like a slam dunk at the time. We got a couple tight ends coming off the board: Brock Bowers and Dallas Goedert. Not my favorite tight ends. I don't think these guys are top 5 tight end upsides, but they both have solid odds of being a top 10 tight end. Yeah, this is knowing when people go and kind of like some of the trends and what people like to do. I think is a huge. I mean, I've probably done almost 400 best ball drafts this season. So I have a good amount of knowledge in there, but it's these redraft leagues that I think we need to start studying a little bit more. So continue to, and that was a good recommendation there, Aiden. We have dataforceff.com. Let's click on another diamond and see what's going on here. Malik Neighbors, 302. And Rashee Rice here at 311. Yeah. Khalil Shakir. People are liking Shakir as the wide receiver 1 there. CeeDee Lamb at the 104. Good God. So we're Jordan Love and Brock Purdy, man. These guys are values. I'm assuming this team, Titanium Matt, will take his Jordan Love. And then I would assume this team with Jonathan Taylor is going to take a quarterback there. if not staying 587 at the 11th spot would be a good quarterback spot. As far as running backs go, I mean, I'm kind of in the no man's land here. I could collect Devin Singletary, who's just a starting running back too for me for the first little bit, and we'll kind of figure that out as the season goes on. But I'm not going to be too picky here. I'm going to continue to take running backs and just collect bodies. As far as receivers go, I mean, I do like Sutton as the wide receiver one. I'm not too big into Jameson Williams. I don't think I'm going to like starting him every week. He's more of a best ball pick to me. But Sutton, Samuel, Romeo Dobbs, those guys do interest me. But I'm assuming that we're gonna want two running backs with these next two picks. I didn't mind Austin Eckler. I think Eckler is a safe PPR pick this year. Whatever. I know he's up there in age, gets hurt often, but I think he's got a little bit of juice left to squeeze. And he's still playing for a contract, so maybe he gets paid one more time. But this is the Jordan Love pull, I think. I mean, dude, I didn't love Jameson Williams coming out. He was just really fast. And that was kind of his whole thing. I don't think he's a great route runner. I think he's kind of like he's a good field stretcher. They want to try to give him the ball in hands and let him do some things after the catch. But I don't know. I'm a little nervous on Jameson. Excuse me. So I'm not buying the hype. I think best case for Jameson Williams is, he's behind Amon-Ra and he's behind Laporta. So best case for him is he's wide receiver 3, technically in terms of targets. I mean, there's a legit chance that Jahmyr Gibbs has more targets than him most weeks. So I kind of view him as like the number 3, number 4 target. And like all the receivers being drafted around him right now, like Sutton's the number 1. I think Curtis Samuel can be the number 2, number 3 target. I think Romeo Dobbs is the number 2 target for Jordan Love. I end up taking these receivers over Jameson Williams there. And most of the time, I'm looking at running backs here. I mean, I think Moss, Singletary, like these guys are all fine as my RB2 if I need them to be that. So I'm a little hesitant to take Jameson Williams. I think he's going to be a frustrating start each week. And good evening, TB. Yeah, we talked about DeAndre Swift at the beginning of the show, and my thoughts on DeAndre Swift are I've never really been a big DeAndre Swift fan. I don't think he's that great of like a pure running back. I think he's a great receiving back. And for me, like his profile is exactly like Jaylen Warren to me. I can get 3 rounds, like two rounds cheaper sometimes, like DeAndre Swift here at 7.5. That's actually good value for DeAndre Swift. I like that, but I'm taking Najee, I'm taking Tony Pollard over him because these guys are going to have way more touches and opportunities than DeAndre Swift. I'm very concerned about the touchdown potential for DeAndre Swift because I think Khalil Herbert's the better short yardage runner. I think Khalil Herbert's going to lead the team in carries as well, and they kind of treated Khalil Herbert as a starting running back in the preseason. He worked only with the first team. He didn't play when Swift sometimes didn't play. I think I'm very nervous about Swift's touchdown upside. We know Caleb Williams likes to run the ball. They throw the ball a lot in the red zone. I'm a little nervous about Swift. And again, in that round, I'm definitely taking a guy like, receivers like Jaden Reed, Deontay, and JSN. I'm taking those 3 receivers all day over Swift. And then if I'm taking a running back there, I'm probably taking the touches from Pollard or Najee over DeAndre Swift. If I go to, and one of my favorite stats to look at is usually opportunity share for running backs. And these are my projections here. Let me actually go to the running backs. So in terms of opportunity, I have DeAndre Swift here at 25. I have Tony Pollard here at 24, which is fine. But guys like Najee, higher, I think. I have Jaylen Warren a little bit lower, but I worry about I gave 4 touchdowns and 2 receiving touchdowns to Swift. But my favorite thing to look at lately has been touch points, which there's a stat out there that running back rushing attempts equal 0.62 fantasy points per game or per touch, and targets equal 1.57 PPR points. And when I filter by projected touch points, You're going to see DeAndre Swift here at RB22. I mean, I got a lot of guys higher than DeAndre Swift, and especially a guy like Jalen Warren sticks out to me as a guy that will have a lot of those. I want a guy that can get a lot of touches in both assets and some touchdown opportunities. So I'm kind of out on Swift. Could be wrong. I was half wrong on Swift last year because he started off so hot, but he trailed off at the end of the year. But hey, we're up to pick. I have a minute left to make this pick. Brock Purdy, Zach Moss, quarterbacks are pushing up. I mean, I would have liked B-Rob or Singletary. I'm not a huge Zach Moss guy here, so I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna take Chase Brown as my RB2, who I think is the receiving back for the Browns, and I think he's got a chance to lead the Bengals in carries and targets from the running back spot. If these guys want to push Zach Moss around back to me, I'll take both. That's fine with that. Yeah, Javonte is one of my most drafted players across. I play most of my best balls on drafters. If I go to my exposures and we just look at my running back picks, I have a ton of Javonte Williams. He's my third drafted running back here, and I've been clicking him all offseason. Now, I had been taking a lot of Marshawn Lloyd, so that one doesn't look so good. But I like Warren. I took a lot of Eckler because I think he's just the value where he goes. Jerome Ford, Cortland Sutton off the board. I mean, hey, if they're going to give me Ezekiel Elliott off the board, if they're going to give me the Bengals backfield, and I have Joe Burrow, so I kind of get all the Bengals if I do this. Samuel, those guys are really nice bench pieces, but I think I went down the list. I like Palmer, I like Polk, I like Downs, I like Wicks. I think all these guys are ideal bench plays for my squad. Caleb Williams off the board, so fine. I will dabble and see who are the Bengals' top running backs this year. And I do think there's a chance where both Bengals running backs are a must-start play week 1 against the New England Patriots. Let's go look at that. And I don't really know how much the Patriots improved their defense this offseason, but if I just look at fantasy points allowed from last year, let's go to the running backs. They're middle of the road, about 20 points per game. I would bet in that environment, though, the Bengals get more than 20 running back points. And yeah, I usually like to want to see a quarterback wait. I usually don't want to see a rookie quarterback start week 1. I think Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, those guys I'm comfortable starting week 1 because I think their game is ready for it. Drake May on a team that's just the Patriots they're just not going to be good this year. So, what does that do for a guy's confidence? That could be something that scares me to play Drake May. Maybe you let Jacoby Brissett lose the first 3-4 games, and then Drake May kind of, sees that and goes through some of the things with Jacoby, in the QB room. I think that's kind of interesting. I want to see Drake May. I think he's got a lot of fun upside with his legs. I think he's got a good arm. He had some really nice passes to some of the guys this preseason. I want to see Drake May succeed, but I kind of want to let Jacoby Brissett eat some shit for about a month. I was looking at that. I don't know when we're going to see Drake May enter the starting lineup. And I saw all the quotes from the head coach today, but Cincinnati, Seattle, the Jets, the 49ers, the Dolphins, Houston. That's a tough 6 games. That's a tough 6-game start. I don't know if I see a win in this schedule for the Patriots in the first 6 games. Honestly, Jacksonville, that's in London. Anything can happen there. But we could see the Patriots get off to an 0-7, 0-8 start. Maybe they steal one at Tennessee, at Chicago, but probably not. There's a chance this Patriots team could be complete ass this year, and that scares me. And Bryce Young is one of my favorite quarterbacks to draft in a super flex as your QB3. I think the identity there is going to be Deontay Johnson and running the football. Adam Thielen as your 2 is fine. I think they're going to rotate Leggett and Mingo as the number 3. They really need a tight end there. I'm still hopeful for Jatavian Sanders, but I would have liked them to sign, a quality veteran to pair with Bryce Young, because like, every young quarterback really needs a tight end to grow and develop with. So I'm very hopeful for the Panthers this year. I think they're playing for 2025. I don't expect the Panthers to win a lot of games, but I think they're going to see what Bryce Young can do. They want to see, okay, can Mingo or Leggett play? Can Deontay Johnson stay healthy? And then we'll get a little taste of Jonathan Brooks at some point soon. And personally, I don't like taking a lot of Jonathan Brooks just because I'm nervous about, like, what happens when the Panthers, when they get Jonathan Brooks back and they're 1-3, 0-4. It takes 2-3 games to get Jonathan Brooks into the mix. I think, those first couple games we're not starting Jonathan Brooks in our lineup, especially that first game back. Like, you're just not starting Jonathan Brooks. We don't know what the workload's going to be. And there's a chance Chuba Hubbard's just still involved with Jonathan Brooks all season. But I understand the argument that Jonathan Brooks, by November, December, he's getting 15 touches. He's getting, 15, 16 carries and getting 2, 3, 4 targets per game. I think he could be a running back 2 for you. I really, really like Jonathan Brooks. He was my running back 1 coming into the class. But I just think landing on the Panthers on a team that really, they're going to be lucky to win 6 games this year, right? So I just kind of worry if I do think you want him for the playoffs, but I don't know what the state of the offense is going to be like in weeks 14, 15, 16, 17. And if there's any chance that he's not quite 100% himself, like Breece Hall was an anomaly last year with that knee injury. You look at Javonte Williams, who just didn't have a great year. It could be something like that where he's kind of struggling to get some of that speed and that burst back. And it's kind of just like, okay, the Panthers know they're not playing for anything this year. Let's just get, Jonathan Brooks in a 50-50 committee with Chuba Hubbard. They don't owe Chuba Hubbard anything. They could just beat the hell out of Chuba and let Jonathan Brooks get some experience this year. So like I'm very nervous about Jonathan Brooks there, and I don't know. 8th round though feels okay. 8-11 there. That seems like a quality spot to pull him. But in my 0 RB build, I don't know if I wanted to grab a guy like Brooks because I need running back production now. So we'll dabble with the Bengals guys and Jalen Warren here. And this is shaping up pretty good for us. You can see after I took Moss, only 1 running back off the board. We got a run of like wide receiver 3s. I think Cooks is kind of the number 3 target in Dallas. I think, the pecking order is Lamb, Ferguson, Cooks. I really like Romeo Doubs. I think Doubs is a better pick than Christian Watson this year. I think Doubs runs more routes, gets more targets, is just more reliable. I think he leads the team in receiving touchdowns. I think Romeo Doubs is a really good pick. And I got to shake Romeo Doubs' hands at a Brewer game this year, so that was pretty cool. So maybe I'm kind of biased there. But Lockett, not really super excited about Lockett. I do like Khalil Shakir, who is going higher. Like we saw Khalil Shakir when we opened up those data fantasy force drafts. Like Shakir was going much higher, over Keon Coleman even. So I think Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, like there's value in those 2 guys. One of those guys could be the leading receiver for Buffalo. I don't think Keon Coleman is. And then Jerry Jeudy, man, I think he is in for a nice bounce back year. The Browns paid him a lot of money. He's going to be a part of their offense. He's going to be their leading slot receiver. He could lead the team in receptions this year. I don't think that's out of the question. And hey, if everything goes bad with Watson, like they got Jameis Winston, I think it could be kind of an exciting look with Jameis Winston slinging darts left and right. But we shall see. We're finishing up the 10th round right now. We are on coast. We're kind of in running back mode. I do want a QB too. Brock Purdy still on the board. We identified him as a guy that we like to throw over 30 touchdowns. When I filtered this here, Purdy 30 touchdowns, Tua 29, Goff 29, Stafford 29. And yeah, dude, to me when I watched Keon Coleman, I saw like I think he's Alan Lazard. Like I think he's a big body outside receiver that can't really separate. He could have some spike seasons with some touchdowns, but I think overall he's going to be very inconsistent. We saw that in the preseason, especially on contested catches and things like that. He's just always going to have a player in his vicinity to mess with his hands. So I'm not a believer in Keon Coleman. I think that was a bad pick for the Bills there, but I get it. They kind of needed to replace those Gabe Davis routes, so they're trying to kind of replace Gabe Davis there, which I think makes sense. But I'm not sure I'm totally into it. I love him. I love his personality. I think he's a fun young man, but I just struggle to see him being a breakout player. If anything, like I could maybe see him having like a rookie season that makes sense. We've seen guys that especially guys like Kelvin Benjamin come to mind. Chase Claypool, these big receivers that have really nice rookie years, but I just don't know long term if I see Keon Coleman working out all that well. And then there's one of the worst tight end picks I think you can make this year, Pat Freiermuth, especially in the 11th round. They're going to use a rotation there. I mean, we saw last year the Falcons offense under Arthur Smith. He had Kyle freaking Pitts, and Pitts was just tight end 13, and he played the whole year. Jonnu Smith had a big year. I'm not in love with taking Pittsburgh pass catchers. I think the offense is going to run through the running backs. I still like George Pickens a lot as a talent. I think George Pickens could do a Cortland Sutton impression and catch 10 touchdowns this season, but I think it could be kind of frustrating. And hopefully we got Jaylen Warren there as one of the leading. Warren might lead the team in receptions this year, honestly. I could see him getting up to 65, 70 catches plus in that offense. So I think my money's on Warren and Najee being the Steelers you want this season. As far as backup tight ends, I'm totally cool with Taysom Hill as my backup tight end. He does have the same bye as my starting tight end, so that kind of sucks, but we can figure that out when we get there. I don't find myself taking a lot of Trey Benson. I like Trey Benson. I thought he looked good in that one preseason game, not so much the first preseason game. But I don't see him eating too much into James Conner's workload. The only way Trey Benson becomes startable is if James Conner gets hurt. And, it would have to be like a season-ending injury for me to be like, oh, dang it, like I should have drafted Trey Benson. But even when Conner misses time, Benson's going to be in a committee. They showed that to us week 2. Benson came off the field in passing situations. He's not going to be a bell cow back. If anything, he kind of profiles as like a Zach Moss, Brian Robinson type, which is just kind of like a middling RB2 type play. And I think if Conner goes down, I think we're just going to see that offense go even more towards Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride and Kyler Murray doing all kinds of fun stuff. But we're in the middle of the exciting 11th round here. We need running backs, man. Chuba Hubbard, J.K. Dobbins, Rico Dowdle, Jalen Wright, Ty Chandler, Tyler Algier. I got a lot of guys that I like on my board. I'm not opposed to pulling a Brock Purdy QB2. I mean, we got three running backs to start here. Actually, I take that back. Pat Freiermuth, I'll give you some love. Cole Kmet is the worst tight end pick, I think, in fantasy football this year. That was an auto pick there, so he couldn't really do anything about it. But everything from Chicago's preseason usage indicates that Gerald Everett is the tight end 1 for Chicago, which is concerning, man. Gerald Everett's got a big connection with the offensive coordinator there, Shane Waldron. He's played with him in Seattle and a couple other places. And I thought Cole Kmet is a good tight end, but their coaches are going to always do stupid stuff. And it looks like they're going to go rotational tight end by committee there, Everett and Cole Kmet. And that's the other part about that worries me about Odunze and Keenan Allen. Like, I think Keenan Allen could get off to a really hot start. As much as I like Odunze as a prospect, man, like he's just not going to be on the field enough, I think, to be a steady fantasy pick. There goes Jalen Pope a few rounds too early. We saw it last year with Jackson Smith-Njigba, and the same offensive coordinator from Seattle is over in Chicago now. And I worry that you're going to see a lot of DJ Moore and Keenan Allen on the field. but they're going to rotate, versus 3 wide receiver sets and 2 tight end sets. You're going to see a rotation of Odunze, Kmet, and Everett, and only 2 of those guys can be on the field at once. And I don't know. I think it could be messy. I think the big bet with Odunze is that one of Keenan Allen or DJ Moore miss time. So I could take Chuba Hubbard here and start him week 1. He's projected, 10, 9, 6, 7, whatever. Gets the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Bengals. It's actually a pretty nice schedule here for a running back. I don't know how much usage I'm going to get and when Jonathan Brooks will be ready. So Chuba kind of interests me. There's A.D. Mitchell, who I like a lot, but I also like Josh Downs a lot. Don't really want to pull QB2. I'm gonna take a chance on J.K. Dobbins here, guys. Just a swing at a running back that could be the best running back on his team. I do not like the Achilles injury one bit, but we need running backs. I think if Chuba comes back around, I like Chuba. If Rico Dowdle comes back around, those will be my 2 guys that I'm looking at here. We've identified a lot of receivers we like later. I don't know if I'm going to get Josh Downs, Dontavian Wicks to come back to me in the 13th, but those guys would be priority picks for me. I think Demario Douglas is the team's leading receiver for the Patriots this year. We could take, stabs at Luke McCaffrey, Wan'Dale Robinson. I think Jalen McMillan, Demarcus Robinson, Greg Dortch, Jalen Tolbert. I'm not opposed to Brendan Rice. Don't know why Marquise Lee's on the list, but he's on the list. And there goes Rico Dowdle. Maybe I pull a lot Adonai Mitchell here. I don't have Adonai Mitchell in too many leagues right now, and I kind of want to wait for Josh Downs though in the 13th. Maybe that's what I do. I'm going to see if Downs or Dontavian Wicks come back to me, and I suppose we'll pull Chuba Hubbard here if he comes back through. So All-Star Big Joe goes with the Ezekiel Elliott, Rico Dowdle pull. So he's got Dallas RB locked up. Gibbs and Barkley at the top of the draft. We'll see. Luke Musgrave. I like Musgrave. There is some Tucker Kraft hype right now. Kind of worried about Musgrave just getting lost in targets and being kind of an inconsistent player each week. There goes Chuba Hubbard. So we kind of missed on some of the guys that we were ultimately hoping for. I could just grab Tua Tagovailoa here. Who does he play week 12? My bad. Gets New England. That could be a nice game at home. Touchdowns are there. QB2 locked in. We really need running backs though, guys. All right, I'm gonna take Adonai Mitchell just because I kind of see the receivers leveling off soon. I have 4 running backs. I think Chase Brown, Zach Moss, I'll be starting one of those guys every week, and then in theory, Jalen Warren will be starting for me every week. So I have my top 3 backs kind of secured, and Adonai Mitchell is our 6th man. Like if he's the wide receiver 1 in Indianapolis week 1, I'm not going to be surprised. But that might do it. I don't know. We've been hanging out for an hour and a half here. If these picks gotta go quicker, we can maybe hang out for the 13th and 14th pick, and then I'll just kind of make my final bench picks here. I should probably pull a defense pretty soon. I'm surprised no one's done that yet. You do start a defense here. I kind of want 2 of them. I kind of want the Bengals defense. I think they're going to be thumping this year. And they're all the way down here in the 1,000. That seems weird. So I like the Bengals defense a lot, and then maybe I'll try and pull a top defense. I love that there's no kickers in this league. That makes me so happy. But yeah, this is a fun roster construction. It's a fun format. We're starting 5 stud receivers. Got a top 5 tight end. Got a top 5 QB. We did not get a top 5 running back, unfortunately, but if they told me I can start 5 receivers, I'm going wide receiver heavy. And yeah, we're going to load up this entire bench with some running back picks. But I don't want to bore you guys too much more. I'm going to get out of here for the evening. Thank you for hanging out with me for the last hour and a half or so. I'll finish this draft, and maybe I'll post in the comments if you guys want to come back and check it out and see how I finished it up. But I'm going to call it for the night. Thank you guys so much. Tomorrow night, I will be going live. We're going to be doing I'm doing the Fellowship Free League draft. It's a super flex draft. It's starting at 7 p.m. Central Time here. So we will have a live draft tomorrow night, super flex. If you guys want to check it out, please hang out. And otherwise, check out thefantasyfellowship.com, man. We got a $7 August special going on. You get access to my projections, my rankings. I have a big update coming. I might do it on Thursday this week and get all the rankings, the projections, the cheat sheets, everything uploaded for you guys. So that's coming at the end of the week. Check it out. It's only $7 for the next whatever. You get it for 30 days, whatever. But that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. We'll see you tomorrow night. Peace.